Hello, good evening, everyone. Hope all is well. When I tell y'all this is going to be a brief broadcast, it is going to be a brief broadcast on tonight. Anybody watching the replay, thank you so much for tuning in. Listen, it's a lot going on in the world. But before we even get into that, for those who do not know who I am, my name is Tamieka Smith. I encourage dreamers to become doers of the world while unapologetically allowing their light to shine in a dark world. And so my new title by my business mentor is an Abundance Cultivator Consultant. I'm going to say it again, an Abundance Cultivator Consultant. So when people come to me, for those who do not know, I am a full-time entrepreneur. And so it's a lot going on, but I am so excited and I am definitely blessed to be able to take that leap of faith, leave my 9 to 5, and here we are. And it's just a couple months in and it's all well. So listen. Hey, Larico. Hey, I can see some comments tonight. Hey, listen, I got my no longer on mute shirt from the first woman that believed in the brand and had me under her. Well, she was under my wing. And so that is Victoria Miss Hooks now. And so listen, no longer on mute. We are no longer on mute. For those who do not know, listen. I was in an abusive relationship for several years, and yes, full-time entrepreneur. You got that right, Larico. And it's a lot of things going on, and a lot of alarming things as far as relationships go. And tonight we're going to talk about 5 ways to know a narcissist. And for everybody that is on Periscope, today is the last day of Periscope. I want to thank Periscope, the creators of Periscope, because that's where I started to hone my skills as far as speaking and getting the confidence to go live. I did have a real fear of speaking. And so to God be the glory, we got over that. And so I was with Periscope since the beginning. And now today's the last day. So you guys have to hop on my YouTube channel, Tamieka Smith, on Facebook. I know some of y'all don't like to be on Facebook. Hop on over to Facebook, Instagram. You might not be able to catch me live, but I do need to go live more often on Instagram. And I'm thinking about getting on Haps. It's a new app. There's so many. And I'm on not Periscope, but Clubhouse as well. But anyway, listen. Get all this stuff out the way, all the housekeeping. Make sure you do swipe and invite and tag a friend. We're going to talk about this whole narcissism. We're going to talk about toxic relationships, this whole struggle love thing. We got to listen. Where do we even begin? So, listen, last night, I was watching the Tina Turner, and I definitely encourage anyone just to watch. I love to watch like an icon and look at the history, look at their life, and look at how they persevered through their life before they got to the quote unquote fame. Because you can get so many nuggets and so many jewels. It's a great thing to get wisdom from people that have persevered. And some of you have persevered in life. And I encourage you all, shameless plug, Wordsmith books. We can write your story. We can ghostwrite. We can do all that. I can push you in the right direction where you need to go, because these stories, it helps so many, and not just help you when you tell your story, whether it's speaking on the couch with a therapist, because I am a strong advocate of getting therapy. You can love Jesus too now and go to therapy as well. So, I mean, as far as that is concerned, when you look at a person's life and you look at their smile, when I smile, people be like, oh, I never knew you went through an abusive relationship. Yes, I have went through it, and I was in it for nearly 5 years. And so from me being an expert from that toxic relationship and being able to acknowledge when I'm faced with a narcissist, when I can see a narcissist. And a lot of us, we throw this word around and we don't really know the real meaning of a narcissist. It's not always when it comes to a romantic kind of relationship. You might have a narcissist in your family. You might have a narcissist in a friendship. You might have a narcissist in so many areas at your job, right? So when it comes to being a narcissist, some of y'all really don't know what that looks like. And a narcissist, it can lead up to being very abusive in nature. And it's about having control. I'm a little ahead of myself. But when I saw, because some of these trending topics, because you don't never know the whole story of certain things, right? But with the whole Derrick Jackson situation, with the whole Sweetie, and I don't even know who the child is, but Sweetie and Quavo, I'm familiar with that because of the Migos. But when I saw this video of her hitting, now let me throw this disclaimer out here. I'm not an advocate of anyone, okay? Anyone laying their hands on another human being. Okay? Are we clear? Amen. So I'm not an advocate of a man or a woman hitting when it comes to that, because I am a firm believer you need self-control. It's for my believers, for my saints, y'all know self-control. That's one of the fruit of the spirit. That's one of the fruits of the spirit. We all need self-control. Like this whole struggle love thing, I'm over it. Hey, good evening. I can't see who it is. It just say Facebook user, but good evening to you. But my thing is, when it comes to what I call, quote unquote, this struggle love. And when I saw Sweetie, if you're not familiar, it's on TMZ, it's on the Shade Room, this woman, she hit him. That don't make it right. She hit him and then he swung her in the elevator. And I like to watch. I'm a people watcher. I like to watch people. And so I'm looking at the comments and people are like, that's not abuse. Y'all call that abuse? As if it's a competition when it comes to abuse. And I'm like, wait a minute, hold up, really? Is that what we're doing now? Is that a thing? Obviously so, because I'm reading the comments on different blog posts about this situation, and also with the whole Derrick Jackson situation. Not gonna get too deep into that, but I'm saying all that to say, even with the Tina Turner, the HBO documentary, which is, oh my God, I watched it twice already. It was so good, and I was just in tears last night. Just like, I'll get there in a minute, but when it comes to like this whole Quavo and the Sweetie situation, is like, why do you all think that someone has to have a black eye before someone is getting abused? There's different forms of abuse, and what greater way than to inform you all that may not be familiar with it when it comes to when you're dealing with a narcissist, when you're dealing with being in an abusive relationship, and this whole struggle love, and it's toxic. That's not love at all. When it comes to the forms of abuse, there's the verbal. First of all, it's mental. Yes, got to drop the knowledge. First of all, it is mental before it ever gets physical. Because when you're dating someone, they're building a foundation, right? This is what a narcissist does. They build the foundation. And when they build the foundation, they do the love bombs. They give you like too much attention than the normal. They do the love bombs, and they make it all about you at the beginning. Exactly. Why does a black eye have to be abused? You got that right. But they make it all about you at the beginning. And when I saw that whole Derrick Jackson thing, I was like, oh, he's a narcissist. Especially when he did the video with a third person. That was super weird and super crazy. But then again, I also saw people this is what society does. They like to blame the victim because she doesn't appear to be your IG supermodel. And she's a believer, no doubt, but y'all deflecting. That's what a narcissist does, deflect the situation and make it about, oh, you want to, use God as a scapegoat for what you're doing, and it's not right. So listen, but this is what a narcissist does: build a foundation. Next thing you know, you caught up in an entanglement. I got caught up. It happens. And I can understand where Derek Jackson's Denasia, I think her name is, where she's coming from when you are at a point where you just don't care. Listen, it is what it is. And mentally, it just reminded me of how I was when I got fed up. Sometimes it takes you to get tired to leave a situation such as that. We can pray all day, but it takes some common sense to get out of these situations, because we can, go to God, but we have to be accountable. That's not a cuss word. Accountability is not a cuss word. We have to be accountable when it comes to our actions and our decisions and what we choose to do in life, because our decisions not only impact us, but it impacts the people around us as well. So when we talk about a narcissist, they build the foundation. They do the love bombs. They make it feel like you're just so important to them in their life. They like to control. I put 5 ways in the title, but I'm giving y'all more than 5 ways. They isolate you. They isolate you to where you think, oh, you're not around your family, your friends, the people that's been there. They isolate you, right? And it's starting a cycle. You're on a wheel, the toxic wheel of abuse, and you don't even know it. You caught up in a literal entanglement before it got popular with Will and Jada. You are in a real life entanglement. And when you're in a real life entanglement, the verbal abuse begins. The mental abuse, the gaslighting. Oh, that didn't happen. What you talking about? Make it seem like you feel like you don't know what you just endured. Like you're making this stuff up. That's why I always tell somebody, you better get some receipts. I still have people to this day in my inbox because I made a decision years later, because I got out of that relationship in 2010, and 2016, I created the first book, which is Shattering the Glass House. And I tell you how to have a strategy to get out of an abusive relationship. And if you want this book, it's available. It is available on my website, wordsmith-enterprises.business. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And so, first book, right? Second book, that's a devotional. But I want to talk about these toxic relationships. So this is the third book. Can y'all see it? I got my contacts, trying to be Vanna White. But anyway, this is a 21-day guide, Glow Up Girl. That's the third book, Glow Up Girl. That's also a guide on how to stay out of these toxic relationships. This struggle love stuff, that's not cute. It's not healthy. And your mental health, it got to be right. It have to be right. Because if you don't, you're going to get manipulated. And that's what happens when you're dealing with a narcissist, whether it's friendship, whether it's romantic wise, whether it's a family member. Narcissism, it goes across the board. But when you are caught up romantically, especially when you have kids, especially when you're in a marriage, it can be a little bit more difficult to get out of that situation. Right? It doesn't have to be.
Sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you.
My watch is talking to me. But it doesn't have to be to the point where you have a black eye to prove that it's abuse. My abuser, choked me out several times and tortured me. So when Tina Turner, when I was watching her documentary, I can understand where she's coming from. The torment, it happens. And a lot of the times when you leave those kind of situations, you compartmentalize those things because you don't want to go back there. And you could literally see the pain in her face every time. This is like 16 years later. She left this abuser, right? But then people will always bring up Ike. What about Ike? What about Ike? This is a self-made woman, talented, an icon. But people still want to talk about that, right? So I could feel her pain. But when you are dealing with a narcissist, you have to cut the cord and you got to run for cover. I don't know who made it cool to be like, okay, that's not really abuse when I'm seeing this young lady get swung in the elevator. And we talking about elevators, that whole Solange and Jay-Z, because I look, listen, it is not right across the board when it comes to abuse. And I have men as well in my inbox telling me about some abusive stuff, because with women, a lot of their abuse, it can be physical, yes, but some of that abuse, the majority of it is verbal attacks. You emasculate a man. Google it if you don't know what it means. When you emasculate a man, that doesn't make him feel good. That's not good. That's why because of those experiences that I had with dealing with abuse, I am a strong advocate for family, especially our Black family. We have to talk to our men, not talk at our men that's in our lives, so we can learn. With the whole women's conferences and all this stuff and sis and brunches and mimosas, listen, that's cute, but we need some real healing. We need to be whole. We need to be accountable. That's not a cuss word. We need to be accountable, hold each other accountable, hold the men accountable. If you see them doing wrong, be like, hey, that ain't right. Some people like, that ain't my business. I don't want to be in that. I understand that as well. But at the end of the day, if God has created community, we need to be a little bit more accountable when it comes to certain stuff. And when you are dealing with narcissism with a person, it could be hard to love them. You want to know why? Because a narcissist never, ever see their wrongs. Ever. Ever. We had a whole president that was a whole narcissist. That's a whole case study. If you voted for him, whatever. I ain't even talking about that, but that was a whole case study that we dealt with when it come to him. If y'all don't know what a narcissist is, I encourage y'all to do some research, read more than these Facebook statuses and clicking and liking and getting down that rabbit hole on social media, and educate yourself about what a narcissist is. Because you know what? Your kids, any kids that's around you that you can influence, you need to let them know what a healthy relationship looks like. Better yet, be the example. It grieved me so much reading the stuff that was going on in these comments when it came to the Quavo and the Sweetie situation. I'm just like, what? This is what it is now? We're having a competition on what abuse is and what it isn't? Make it make sense, because that's not right. Abuse is more than a black eye. Abuse is verbal. Abuse is financial. Abuse is spiritual abuse that you can go through, and not just in a romantic type of relationship. A lot of y'all are in cults and y'all don't even know it, and being controlled. But that's a whole nother broadcast for a whole nother day. But when it comes to loving a narcissist, you're going to pour out to the point where you're depleted. So when I see Derrick Jackson's wife I understand how that feels because I was there at one point. I was there in a relationship like that for nearly 5 years until I made a decision to get out of that because it wasn't healthy. For those who know me in real life, I'm only 4'11", and yet I was so skinny. I'm a lovely size 8 now, but I was so skinny because the stress. I was all very barely at 100 pounds because the stress was killing me mentally, and it was showing visibly at that point. So when you are in a narcissist and you are engulfed in that cycle, that person have to make a decision that they want to do better. You can't save somebody, and this is a song, but in all seriousness, you cannot save somebody that don't want to save themselves. Don't save them, they don't want to be saved. Unless they make the decision. You can put God and make it look good for PR, and some of y'all don't care about abuse unless it's y'all favorite celebrity or your favorite NFL player or your pastor. They can preach a good word, but they beating their wives behind closed doors. Or vice versa, because it happens. Like, this is an equal opportunity type of broadcast on tonight. But some of y'all don't care unless it's Domestic Violence Awareness Month, which is only in October. But since we've been in this pandemic, the abuse numbers have skyrocketed. People are taking it out on the people that's close to them, keeping them as a doormat. Listen, you can stay a doormat if you want to be a doormat, but you don't have to. You don't have to stay in a relationship that's causing you to be depleted. And if you're married, get some wise counsel, not your girlfriends and your guy friends. Get a licensed therapist. Get some wise counsel, because a lot of the problem also is when these spiritual leaders are telling y'all to stay in these relationships and you're getting abused. You're about to die, because it can escalate up until that point. Not calling every narcissist an abuser. And the whole thing with Quavo, certain parts are allegedly, but we saw what we saw. I saw, what's her name, Sweetie hit him, and he flung her in that elevator, and she was limping out that elevator. And when he saw that camera, he was like, oops, candy camera. Oops, there go my life. A mighty Russian wind hit him. But the traits of a narcissist. Number one is superiority and entitlement. They make you inferior to them. And again, a narcissist is more than just a romantic level. A narcissist can also be in a friendship. A narcissist can also be a family member. A narcissist can also be somebody you work with. A narcissist can be also someone you are in a congregation with, a place of worship with. So it's superiority and entitlement. That's the first one. They always want to make things even. Number two, exaggerated need for attention and validation is exaggerated. It's exaggerated. They need all this attention. They're not good with, not having the spotlight on them. They always got to have the spotlight. There's always the so-and-so show. Some of y'all might be dealing with one now. May this shine a light on that darkness that you're dealing with. You pouring in positivity and supportive words, but they just filter that out. It's never good enough. You just miserable because you're still pouring out to somebody that don't want to be loved. It's not good at all. Number three, perfectionism. they have a high need, more than the average bear. They have a need to be perfect. Everything has to be perfect, or it's wrong. Like there's no room for error. And you can feel like you're walking on eggshells. And that's not a good feeling at all. At all. It's not. And it could feel like it's an impossible demand, because it is. Nothing is perfect. Nobody is perfect. There may be some compromise, but it's not perfect. Number 4 is a great need of control. A great need of control. And is classic narcissistic behavior. The control, like crazy control. Everything got to be their way. And they try to make it their business so you won't be happy, because they got to have everything their way. And number 5, because there's so many traits of a narcissist, and I could probably write a whole book about being a narcissist, but I just don't have the time to. But the lack of responsibility, this is a high one. This is the lack of responsibility, blaming and deflecting. I'm going to repeat that one. It's the lack of responsibility, blaming and deflecting. They deflect everything. They blame you for everything. It's always somebody else's fault while they're getting treated a certain way. It's always somebody else's fault that nothing ever goes their way. They never have a responsibility for anything under the sun that's going on in their life. A wise person once said, if you always got a problem and the common denominator is always you, maybe you need to, you looking at this phone and you looking at these selfies and stuff, maybe you just need to take some self-reflection and look at you. It's okay to be self-aware. It's okay to be accountable. Back to that A word, accountability. But it's okay. Sometimes we can be the mean guys, the mean girls, and get the help that we need, because somebody might have taught you and you might have been ingrained in that, and you have to unlearn some stuff, because it's not healthy to be a narcissist. It's not healthy to be hitting on another human being that you love. No, that ain't the kind of love over here. Look, I've been there, done that, wrote a few books about it, and help other people write their books about that struggle love. That's not healthy. It's not okay. It's not cute. Abuse is more than just having a black eye. That's for sure, and that's for certain. And if you are unsure after all that, if the person that you're with may or may not be a narcissist, maybe you need to just go to a therapist and speak to someone that's not in your immediate circle, that doesn't have a biased opinion, because it's not always good to share certain things about your relationship. Now, if your life is in danger, by all means, yes. But a lot of the times when you tell people too much and you overindulge, and not just in a relationship, when you overindulge, even on social media, you're just giving too much fuel to a fire. I like to be a mystery series. In a society that overshares, I like to be a mystery series about certain parts of my life. But in all seriousness, you do not have to stay somewhere because of loyalty. And I say this, and I've said it so many times, you don't have to allow your loyalty to be a slave, to cause you to be a slave, all in the face of love, all in the face of having a warm body next to you at night. But you better get you a body pillow. You better get you a couple more hobbies, healthy ones. Do something else about your life, because you don't have to stay in a toxic situation just to say you got a man, just to say you have a woman. This is your life. You're not a cat. You don't have 9 lives. You have one life to live, and you need to live it abundantly. God wants us to live an abundant life, not one where we have to feel like we are inferior to someone else because they are narcissists and they have emotional, psychological issues. Shattered in the Glass House. If you want a signed copy, I have it available. Let me type in my website. But in all seriousness, like the stuff that I see and the stuff that I saw in the comments when it comes to certain situations, it's mind-boggling that we are at a place in society to where we're competing against what's abuse and what's not abuse. It doesn't make sense at all. Abuse is abuse is abuse. There's different forms of abuse, and at the end of the day, it ain't right. Wordsmith Enterprises business. That's how you can get Shattered in the Glass House. You can get it directly, order directly from the website. I do have it available. I do have several copies, and also Glow Up Girl, that light is bright. Glow Up Girl, the 21-day guide to living your best life after toxic relationships. You don't have to stay in a toxic relationship just to say you got somebody. It's better to be single. Single is not a curse at all. Being single is not a curse at all, regardless of what these women conferences and these preachers and social media tell you. It's not a curse at all. It's all about your perspective at the end of the day. But what I do know is a narcissist, there's no fighting chance against a narcissist and trying to love a narcissist. That's an ongoing struggle, an uphill battle. Get off that mountain, go to a therapist, and live your best life. All right? All hearts and minds clear. Y'all have an amazing night. Get away from these narcissists. Know how to recognize a narcissist when you see one, and run for cover. Run for your life. Have an amazing night. I'll talk to y'all soon.